on the camera repair, there's two cameras. There's your rear facing camera, which is right here with the flash, and there's your front facing camera, which is right there, and it's this cable right here. We'll talk about the rear facing camera first, then we'll switch it over to the front facing camera. So with either camera, if you're having problems, maybe the camera's not opening or it's not actually taking pictures, it could say application failed or forced closed, maybe the colors are distorted, then you'll want to replace the camera, whichever one is having issues. Again, this one also has the flash on it, so if if the flash isn't working, or maybe your flashlight app isn't working, then this is also what you'll want to do. So there's two little screws right here, and holding this retaining bracket down, that actually go over the plug for the camera. So we'll remove those two screws, and we'll pop that bracket off. And then this little camera, you can typically just get your flathead screwdriver and either get right in the side right here, and just give it a little gentle lift. These cables you want to be especially careful with. You don't want to damage those too much, or push too much, you could damage them. And then here's your new camera. It comes in a nice little package, or it should, and you can just take that out and then just line up this plug. We'll put the new bracket on, and again here you notice with the screws, I'll use my finger just to kind of hold it in place to get it on the screwdriver, and then a couple of turns to tighten that one down, and a couple of turns, and that's replacing the rear camera. Now the front facing camera, there's a couple of parts to this. It's the camera itself, so the same issues with the other one. If the camera's not taking pictures, the color is distorted, there's a number of things. The focus isn't, the camera's not going into focus, then you'll want to replace it. This also has the proximity sensor, and then there's also a microphone in here. So sometimes when you're on hands-free, it can actually, if people can't hear you, it could either be this speaker or this microphone, or the microphone that's part of the power and a volume cable. If it's that one, then watch the power volume cable to replace. But there is also a microphone here. So if you're talking in the front of the phone and people can't hear you, or it's too low, then this is also the repair you'll want to do. Also with this cable, if you've bought a new LCD digitizer assembly and you need to change the cable from here to the new one, we'll show you that too. It's pretty straightforward. There are a couple of little differences than just replacing the cable, but we'll get to that in just a second. So just like the speaker, you have the two screws right here. We remember to keep everything in order. We have those two screws we take off. This little bracket will come out. You set your speaker aside, and then really it's this cable that is held down with adhesive and a couple of the little guides. So we can kind of lift this up and lift that part up with with the adhesive, and then we'll lift this little microphone with the little guide out of that piece. Now I'll show you on the close-up here a couple of the little pieces you'll have to change over if you have bought a new LCD digitizer assembly. So it's the camera guide right here. It's this little rubber guide for your speaker and your microphone, and then this little guide for the sensor, and that little bracket up there as well. So those you'll pop out. They should be glued in here, but you should be able to lift them out and put them into the new assembly, and then replace the camera as needed. So really all that you would have to do once you get everything switched over is do the reverse of what we did here, and you should be good. I'm going to show you now, if this piece is bad, how to change it out. One thing you want to make sure when you order the new cable is that it comes with this sensor piece. You can order the camera cable without the sensor, but make sure that when you do order it, it does come with this whole little sensor cable. Just makes everything a lot easier. So that's the old cable. We'll set that aside. Here's the new cable. And really what you want to do, you want to take the cover off of the camera. Take the cover off of that piece. And then we'll start with putting the microphone into the microphone hole right there, which is actually directly under the camera, or it's the one to the left. This opening right here is for your speaker. So you want to make sure it goes in that one. And then really just fold it up, and the camera should go into the new guide. And then what you'll do, we remove the adhesive off of this piece right here. You should be able to give the camera cable a little bit of a fold. Just a little bend, and then that should line up in place right there. Now, if you need to, you can put some adhesive maybe down on this cable just to hold the camera in place. But once you change those over, then we can put the speaker back on. We'll put the retaining bracket back over that. Make sure everything lines up. I'll put the top screw in first. Couple of turns just to hold it. Then that bottom screw, and we'll retighten this top screw up. And then the last thing that you want to make sure that you do is to change this little spacer, over. This will actually help keep the plug in place if the phone is dropped or bumped at all. Then it'll help to keep that cable plugged in. So that's either changing the cameras out from one assembly to the other, or actually replacing your cameras if they have gone bad.